I typically come and I do a joke. I bring my own tomatoes because, you know, if you want to call out and say that I'm full of shit, here's a tomato. Feel free to throw it at me and have your fun. But I thought, because it's Tweetstock, I thought I'd have some fun. Tomatoes hurt, so I brought Twinkies. So these are highly valuable. These are selling for $5,000 on eBay. So if you do want to throw something at me, please take it out of the wrapper first, okay? Because the cardboard is actually more of the issue. So for those of you that have seen me present before, I'm pretty fast and furious. I'm going to try to do this in about a half hour, leaving us, 15 minutes to chat. Bear with me. We're going to get started. So the first question is, what does racing have to do with social media strategies? Who follows NASCAR in this room? Who follows racing in general in this room? There you go. Who here can tell me who really won the NASCAR Daytona 500 in 2012? Who actually won it? What you will remember from the 2012 Daytona 500 was the first year that Fox went crazy with Twitter. Everybody had Twitter handles. The announcers had Twitter handles. Everybody had Twitter handles. And something happened. It happened during a caution. And a lot of things happened in the caution. This is actually a pit change during the caution. I'm actually in frame right now. If you can figure out who I am, there's a prize. So, not now. So, during the caution, Juan Pablo Montoya came out, and they were jet drying the racetrack. Now, this is an oval. It was raining. It was pissing rain. Okay, and they had these jet dryers filled with jet fuel. We're talking hundreds of gallons of jet fuel. And Juan Pablo Montoya is passing it under yellow and hits the truck. The thing goes up in flames. This is during live TV. Race is called, everybody stop your car, red flag for those of you that follow racing. What happens then changed everything in NASCAR. Brad Keselowski, in his car, took a picture, pulled out his iPhone, took a picture of the flames and tweeted it. At the time, Brad Keselowski had about 30,000 Twitter followers. I checked this morning, he's up to about 350,000. Okay, what happened? During the red flag, which lasted hours, traditional marketing, Fox TV, sports, was asking drivers for their opinions. Was Brad leading the race? No, Brad was at the back. Who was leading the race? No one will remember. Why? That person who was getting likely the biggest payday of his entire life did not even have a Twitter handle. He's on live TV in front of millions of people for 2 hours being interviewed by traditional media, and no one knows how to get hold of him. In the span of those 2 hours, Brad Keselowski went from 30,000 followers to 150,000. You tell me that traditional media is dead, tell that to someone that's buying Twitter followers and all the other stuff. What did Brad Keselowski do with that money? He went and won the 2012 Sprint Cup Championship this weekend on November 19th. Okay, 350,000 followers gets you a lot of media attention, gets you a lot of buzz, but more importantly, he was engaging with his fans. Just today, you'll take a look, one of his last tweets was, oh, the guy just won the championship, I guess those days of tweeting with him are gone and over. Maybe, maybe not, that was actually Brad's reply. He still gets fined by NASCAR to this day for tweeting in the car. Okay, $50,000 fine. He's got a championship under his belt. He's got telcos giving him money to pay for that bill. Who cares about the fee? Okay? More importantly, what Brad Keselowski picked up on was he had to be there to have the conversation. You can have a $10 presence on Twitter. What I mean by that is take the few minutes, set up your account, set up the notifications so that if anybody ever mentions you or DMs you, you get an email. You don't even have to be on Twitter. But if someone comes across your Twitter handle, or comes across your brand, and that is their chosen means of engagement, and you're was leading the race? Who was looking at a $2 million payday? Who had a professional PR team? Now let me put it in context. To race in the Daytona 500 is a $2 million entry fee. I'm talking in terms of the car, the actual entry fee, the time, the staff. They did not even have a free Twitter account when all of Fox Media and all of NASCAR was saying, this is the year that we are going to be trending on Twitter. This is the year we're going to be engaging with our fans. This is the year that we finally get Twitter. The person leading the race at the red flag, his PR department, did not even set up a Twitter handle. Now, first and foremost, it takes 30 seconds to set up a Twitter handle. The second that thing went red flag, do you think their PR agent should have set up a Twitter handle right there on the spot? So, first lesson to be learned, be there. You don't have to be active, but be there. So, who was it that was the NASCAR fan? I believe it was you in the back. In next year, the Nationwide Series is no longer racing in Montreal. They're moving to Mid-Ohio. This was from the inaugural season. Bit of a collectible on my part. So, moving on. So everybody got that? Be there. Be part of the conversation. So, at TweetstockHigh, I came and I did a panel. I didn't do my traditional keynote, which is fine. I quite enjoyed it. But there's a couple of key things that I quite often talk about in the last 3 years. And I want to quickly cover the past so we can talk about the future. And you've heard these messages throughout the day. The first one, I was quoted saying this back in 2009, content is free. Context is where the value is. You just heard it just in the previous presentation. Okay? Why is content free? Because it is so easy to create that content now. Why is context so valuable? Because by the time you engage with me, you have a better understanding of the relationship, of my personality, of my value add, and at that point in time, you're not talking dollars and cents. We are not in a commodity market at this point in time. As Seth Godin would say, when you go to an artistry and you see a painting on the wall and you really love the artist, you will pay $5,000 for the same painting that would cost $10 elsewhere. Why? Context. So repeat after me. Content is? There you go. Context is where the value is. So once again, content is free. Context is where the value is. The other one that I used to say quite a bit, numbers lie. Relationship rules. Say that again. Numbers lie. Come on, he's warmed you up nicely here. Numbers lie, relationship rules. Okay, it's not about how many followers you have. It's not about all of those things because they can all be gained. And trust me, I'm a gamer like you wouldn't believe. I play video games left, right, and center. I know algorithms. I know gaming theories. Numbers lie. But what values? Relationships. The other thing that I kept on saying quite a bit, and this is actually from TweetstockHigh, take that step, make that leap. Do it right now. Okay? It takes very little effort to get started, but you need to get started. Whether or not that's Facebook, whether or not that's Twitter, whether or not that's YouTube, the list goes on and on and on. Pick something that resonates with you. Take that step. Be more transparent. Be more engaging. Be more out there. Okay? So that was the past. I want to talk a bit about the future. So I mentioned this earlier. November 19th is not only when Brad won the championship. I actually turned 44. It was my birthday. And I always launch something new on my birthday, and this year I'm launching what I'm calling Social Media Rehab. And a lot of this presentation will actually be part of that website. So don't worry about your notes. This is being recorded. I've got an audio on me. The slides are going to be up there. It's going to be blogged about. You're going to find this content for years on by, far after your notes have whittled away. Okay? One of the key things that I said, though, one of my first tips on social media rehab, and this is your first strategy tip of the day. If you want to boost your clout score, have a birthday before a major social media conference. Now, numbers lie. Come on, relationships rule. Let's try that again. Numbers lie. Relationships rule. I want you to remember that over and over and over again. When I say clout, that's a false number. For those of you in the front row, I handed out a copy of the Brand Advocate. I'm actually the digital content strategist for the Brand Advocate, among many other things. In there is an article that I wrote back in April, giving you my views on what clout is and what it really should be. Okay? So, numbers lie. we're going to talk about my main focus these days, and that is social business is your social media strategy. Okay? Why is that? Well, it all starts with the concept of inbound marketing. Okay? Once again, social business is far more than just marketing, but it all starts with inbound marketing. So instead of telling you what inbound marketing is, I've actually got an interview with the guy that coined it.
The best way to describe inbound marketing is to talk about traditional marketing. Traditional marketing is emailing people, is cold calling people, is advertising to people, sort of interrupting people in their daily lives. I call that outbound marketing. What inbound marketing is how you pull people in from Google, you pull them in from blogs, and you pull them into Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. How you turn marketing on its head and sort of transform it to match the way modern humans actually shop and market.
Okay, so that's inbound marketing. So I'm going to tell you a bit of a personal story as to how I've used inbound marketing. I'm new to Brantford. I moved here fairly recently, and I didn't know anybody. So what do? I'm an ex-military brat. I moved every 2 years. What do? You start asking questions. So I started something that I called What's on Your Mind Brands. It was my way of engaging with the people in my community to find out what they needed, and more importantly, give them an opportunity to find out what I know. So I did something fairly new, for lack of a better statement, in the city. I started a podcast series. This got started on November 9th, 2011. That's a year ago. Since then, I've done 50 live interviews. That's in front of a live audience. Sometimes it's one person, sometimes it's more. And I've covered topic after topic after topic. So when we think about SEO, you find out what people are asking about, and you provide content that matches that search. Simple? Find what people are looking for, give them what they want, because content is free, but context is where the value is. So I started asking questions. I said, okay, well, what do you need to know? Tell us about Facebook. Let's do a podcast on Facebook. Talk to us about Twitter. Let's do a thing on Twitter. Pinterest, Past, Instagram, YouTube, inbound marketing, sales, business planning, the list goes on and on and on. I did 50 of these, and I've actually committed to doing 200. Okay, so in the span of, let's say, 5 years, I will have 200 podcasts dealing with topics that people care about. Now, this is the website. We mentioned WordPress, and I'm a huge user of WordPress. This is actually built on Tumblr. Very similar to WordPress, a bit more scaled down, a bit easier to use as well. Zero code involved. There's absolutely zero HTML coding in here. Okay? When I do a podcast, I literally upload the MP3, link to it, give it a description. Boom, there's all my share tools. There's the Google +1s. There's the tweets. There's the likes. Everything that you need to do. My podcasts are 30 minutes long. What are they staring at for 30 minutes while they're listening about what they care about? My business. That is inbound marketing. I am not selling them on what I do. I'm making them aware of what I do while providing value. Okay? That is inbound marketing in a nutshell. What it has also allowed me to do is form relationships, because numbers lie. Thank you. We're going to do that a few more times until you get it right. Or get it loud and cheerful, I should say. As I'm having these conversations, I included people. Now, I'm looking around and I see a few faces, but I'd like to see some hands. Who here has been on one of my podcasts before? There we go. Okay? That's 8 people in this room. Hugo Rodriguez sat next to me during lunch. Okay? How did he know to spend time with me during lunch? He's been on 2 of my podcasts. We've talked about the newspaper industry. He's currently live blogging for The Expositor. Okay? And we've talked about his personal passion, K-12 education. Who's interested in K-12 education? Hugo Rodriguez is the man for K-12 education, especially in Ontario, and he has a podcast with me. Who thinks newspapers dead? The person right before me gave you a great example of how The Expositor changed their life. You tell me traditional marketing does not have a play. Okay? I learned all of these as I was having conversations with people. I'm a huge fan of Mitch Schultz. I've known Mitch for quite a long time. He did over 300 podcasts for 6 Pixels of Separation. He basically does a book review, book interview. He's interviewed Scott twice. He's interviewed John Morgan. The list goes on. every time he does a 40-minute conversation, do you not think he's learning from that person? Do you think that that relationship is not growing? And more importantly, when that person has done their podcast and they've had a great experience, do you think that they will not talk to their friends about how that great is? Once again, raise a hand who's been in my podcast before. How many of you have told your friends you've been on the podcast? The list goes on and on, okay? So, the second rule, right there, incorporate your engagers into your inbound marketing. We've heard about the circles. I used to refer to that as the multi-tiers of separation. You had your first tier, second tier, third tier, and in the old days of six pixels of separation, or 6 degrees of bacon, you know, or whatever. The idea was that you were 6 layers review. We're closer to 3 now, and some would say we're even closer to 2. The point being, I don't know who Hugo knows, but I know the expositor is now more familiar with me because of that interview. I don't know who Pete knows, but I know a lot more people, including his wife, that's been on my podcast. Julie's in the room. Ron has helped me move into this city, and he just did a podcast on personal development. Okay? These are real relationships. Do I care how many +1s I have? Let's take a look at this one here. Here we go. Likes. 41 likes, 37 tweets, 32 +1s, and 7 pins. That's for Pinterest, for those of you that don't know. That's the ones that it's tracking. I also have this on other blogs as well. Because you always want to repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. Okay, and definitely tweet that one later. That would be hashtag repurpose, hashtag repurpose, hashtag repurpose. If you've got content, and it is in flow, these are conversations I was going to have anyways. How easy was it for me to set up a recorder and take it? How much extra work was that? Very little. How much extra work was it for me to take that MP3, put it up on a server that I already own? Very little effort, just time. Okay. How long did it take me to create this Tumblr website? Very little time, because there's no coding here. Every single person in this room can create a Tumblr site. Every person in this room can create a WordPress site. Social Media Rehab is completely on WordPress, and my studio website is completely on Tumblr. Okay? The point being is, as you go down this list, these are all things people care about. But more importantly, they are with real people that you care about. And as such, potentially care back to you. And that drives the concept of top of mind. So that when something comes up and they go, I think Rob does video production, I think he does video editing, I think he does social business, I think he does social media, personal branding, social CRM, the list goes on. I think Rob knows that stuff. And I've had a good relationship with him. When someone's looking for someone that is a social business mentor, who are they going to turn to? What will your friends say? And that's where that second degree and that third degree. That is part of your social media strategy. Because you've incorporated your marketing as inbound marketing by providing valuable content, giving it away for free, but making it contextualized. So when Hugo listens to his podcast, when Pete listens to his podcast, when Julie listens to her podcast, where's Kara? When Kara listens to her podcast about photography, and by the way, those 3 pictures from TweetstockHigh are for Paul Smith of Photo House Studio. He's been on the podcast as well with Kara. What do they think about? They think about the relationships. It's not about the 18 likes. It's not about the 10 tweets. It's not about the 19 +1s. Okay? It's about those 2 people. That's Sid Bolton taken at the PC Computer Museum. The only vintage PC Computer Museum in Canada that has an interactive display. I just finished doing another podcast with him on video games. He has the largest video game collection in Canada. We're talking 18,000+ titles. And I got to do my podcast surrounded by all those games. It's amazing. Okay? The point being, there's Hugo right there talking about K-12 education. And I believe Kara's coming up shortly. So my point being, focus on the relationships. Get them part of your story, because that will amplify the message. Keep them top of mind. And at the end of the day, numbers lie. Okay, and that's what you need to focus on. Whew, that was fun. I see the Toastmaster International. I needed to learn how to do speaking. I decided I needed to do the people that do it professionally and heard from them. I needed to do personal development. I caught Ron, and now he's videotaping. So, once again, content is free. Context is where the value is. Fair enough? Okay. So the other thing that I want to share with you, stop searching for that magic silver bullet. Okay? The F-bomb version of that, it's not there. Okay? There's no silver magic bullet. Okay? There's not one thing that's going to save your marketing. If, as Scott would say, if you've got a crap product, you've got a crap product. That's not a marketing problem. That's a production issue, or maybe that's an operation issue, or maybe that's an HR issue. Okay? So I want you to think very clearly when you look at what these people tell you, and they're all great insights, you need to look at it across the board. It's not sales, it's not marketing, it's not HR, it's social business. If your business as a whole is not social, no amount of ammo is going to kill that beast. Fair enough? So, that leads me to the concept of integrated marketing. I'm going to talk a bit about that in a second, but I want to give you an example first. So this is a bit of a joke for me. For those of you that know, I quite love bacon. I'm wearing a bacon strips t-shirt underneath this shirt right now, actually.
At mealtime?
And I use this as an analogy because you've got all of those people out there going, you got to be on Facebook, you got to be on Twitter, you got to be on Google+, you got to be on Pinterest, you got to be on all these flipping sites. Yes, you should. You should be there in case people reach you. Doesn't mean you have to be active. But if someone connects with you, you better be connected back. Something as simple as, we talk about autoresponders for mailing lists and stuff like that. It's getting a notification if someone tweets your mention. Okay? If someone tags you on Facebook, getting a notification. You may not have time to spend on those networks, but if someone's trying to connect with you, you better be there. So people go out there and they go, you got to use these SEOs of bacon because bacon rules. So you ask the question, who is really playing for the worldwide bacon shortage? Now, who's familiar with Epic Mealtime? Okay. Who here has partied hard with Epic Mealtime? Good, sir. Well done. You and I are talking afterwards. They are the epitome of bacon-infused madness. Okay? Once again, I'm wearing a bacon strips. I can feel the bacon right now. So my point being, there's me and partner and stuff. But my point I'm getting at is, if you are running a small business, and let's say your product is bacon, okay? It could be anything, but in this case it will be bacon. You'll see an example like that and say, oh my God, these guys created these wild videos on YouTube and they got the bacon money. They got Netflix promo codes, they got affiliate marketing, everything's turning gravy for them. This is a guy that was a history teacher and basically became the craziest bacon guy on the internet. That could be all of you guys. That's what social media quite often sounds like. Well, the possibilities are there, very much so. And by the way, that food was actually done from another friend of mine, and once again, relationships rule. That's how I got in on the party. So, I put together a little joke site. This could be any site. I want to start a business on bacon, so let's call it Body by Bacon. Good enough MLM if I ever heard one, okay? It's got 42 likes. Why does it have 42 likes? Because I love the number 42. Okay, I've got a barcode of the number 42 on my neck. That's how much I love 42. So whenever I see a 42, I take a picture. Back in 2009, I weighed 270 pounds. Now put that in context. The belt that I'm wearing here, if I had the belt I had before, would go to back here. Put it in context. Started eating bacon. That's my story and I'll stick it to it. And I went down to 220 pounds just eating bacon. Because it's Body by Bacon. That's how you lose weight, right? Of course it is. So I go in there and I'm going, I got my Facebook page, I got my Twitter page, I got an amazing hashtag, Body by Bacon. Join the counter revolution. Looks beautiful. 42 likes. Where's my engagement? Where's my ROI? Where's everybody buying my product? There's no one. What happens, though, is this. 573 likes, 67 shares on Facebook, 34 shares on cheeseburger.com. I got turned into a meme. Who here has been turned into a meme? It's not all that it's cracked up to be. But in 1 week, because, you know, short shelf life, those stats were just for 1 week of membership, to use the word. The guy took a picture that was off my page, content is free, it's out there, and said, bacon shortage, blame this guy. Hey, I'm okay with that. More importantly, this went viral. Now, viral is not about millions, it's about reaching those that you have no clue about. So what do? Well, you take a look in a bit more detail. Now, is this not going to work on you all of a sudden? We got a freeze. Give me a second. Skip forward here. So more, yes, the big news. These are the comments I had to deal with. He bathed in the leftover grease. Jerked off, judging by the look on his face. Anyone else notice how greasy his face is? Why is Steven Seagal trying to finger that bacon? That's what being a mem is all about. Who wants to be a mem? A lot of shares. Viral's great. Comments suck. So what do? I decide to engage. Facebook comment. Thanks for turning me into a mess. Okay? That's what you do. When someone posts something negative out there, you engage back. You don't ignore it. It's an opportunity to either rectify it or to associate. Prior to that, I was just some random guy on a mem. There was no context. There was no linkage. That's 673 people that went, I like this guy, but I don't know who he is. Context. I gave him context. Okay, you engage. You take the hits, because you'll get the hits. Simple as that. I just made that up. It sounds good tweeting. My point being, you do a search on Google for the image. It got shared a lot. I didn't know this existed. My cousin in Montreal fires me off a tweet one morning. Is this you? Looks like you. I didn't even know this existed. That's what viral is all about. That's what mem's all about. That's what getting into that second, third degree is all about. But you need to bring that third degree back to the first degree, right? But more importantly, when you now ask the question on Google, and you learned this from the previous presentation, and you ask the question, who's to blame for the worldwide shortage of bacon? It ain't epic meal time. It's me. That's SEO, if you bring it back. Okay? So what I'm able to do now is on my Twitter handle, I used to have a really boring thing that's like, I'm Robert Lavigne, your social business mentor. You can find me about these wonderful topics. Give me your business. Nah. I now have, I'm the one to blame for the worldwide bacon shortage per this cheeseburger mem. A, it's fun. A, it's true. Because Google says so. In the world of SEO, at the end of the day, that's all that really matters, right? But it doesn't. So, while I talk some more, I thought I'd put up some bacon. I'm here for bacon grease. Very good. So, I want to use this opportunity to shift gears to more of a Q&A. Okay? I gave you a fictitious example, and I gave you a real example. The real example is that of inbound marketing. How taking content that you would do on a regular basis and repurposing it, and repurposing it. Okay? I've talked to you about integrated marketing. Taking something that you did not necessarily create and incorporate it into your brand. What I haven't talked about right now is traditional media, and I'll take a few minutes on that one. The last campaign that I worked on was a very short campaign, and I guarantee you every single person in this room, I guarantee you everybody in this room got affected by it, actually. I can't say what it is, but you were all affected by it. It was a short campaign. We weren't looking for numbers. Didn't care how many Twitter followers we had, didn't care how many Facebook followers we had. What cared was it was a heavily, heavily volatile campaign. Things would be said, they would be nasty, and people needed to engage. So we established in 3 days a social media presence across YouTube, across Twitter, across blogs, the list goes on and on. It was all there. And it all drew to conversation. You had an issue, we were able to find out, so we were listening, and we were engaging. But what really did it was traditional media. We did print. We did radio. We put up things everywhere. We did posters on the wall, everything. Okay? But everything linked back to our social media. And that's what integrated marketing is all about. Okay? You can't think of them as an either or. It's got to be integrated, especially with marketing. Okay? So that when a person has an issue, when a person wants to have more of a conversation, you're there. We had Twitter chats on a regular basis. We were doing listening. We had this one person. Some would call him a jackass. I would call him a jackass. Okay? And he just tried chipping away at our brand on a daily basis, hourly basis, minute by basis. But we were hitting back with facts. This is a person that had been left unlistened to, unengaged, would have probably changed the entire aspect of the conversation. You need to be in the conversation. So this leads me right back to what I said at the beginning. Who actually won the Daytona 500 in 2012? It was not the person that did not have a Twitter account. It was the person that took a Twitter account, 30,000 followers, took a picture, put it up on the internet, got traditional media to engage with it, brought that Twitter follower up to 350-odd thousand followers, and on November 19th, won the championship. Why? Because he got money out of it. All of that engagement converted to sponsorships. For anybody that's been in the racing field, it costs a lot. Okay? How do you win a championship? Money and talent. There's a lot of talent out there, but there's not a lot of money. Integrated marketing. So I'm going to leave this as a Q&A. Once again, my name is Robert Lavigne. I go by Social Business Mentor. If you're looking for me, I am at socialbusinessmentor.com. I'm also at rlavigne42.com. Before I get started, though, who wants a Twinkie? Watch out, you got. Oh, you? You can't have a Twinkie. Who wants I got two more. Who wants Twinkies? Well, this is going to be far. Ready? Watch the head. Watch the head. Okay. Before I get to the Q&A, I mentioned the podcast. I covered a lot, and I covered very little because it's only a half hour. I have right here, and this, by the way, is a premiere. I spent the entire weekend putting these together. I did 50 podcasts, okay, covering every single topic you want. I created a podcast album called What's on Your Mind Brands. This includes the first 25 podcasts covering everything from Twitter, Facebook. This is very much your social media 101. Okay? I have 5 of these. Okay? I have, and John, you'll appreciate this one, made in Brantford. There's only 2 of these. These ones are a bit special. In each one of these, there's 2 DVDs. By the way, on these are not only the podcasts, so this one here has, I believe, 10 podcasts, including an interview on downtown Brantford. Gentleman over there taking the pictures. But it falls under what I call my 42+1. The first DVD has the number 42 on it. The second DVD has the +1. Why? Because I'm too cheap to pay for printing. This is all how I've done. This is all second-hand cases. No professional quality here, everybody. Okay. More importantly, if you take one of these, you need to give the other DVD to a friend. Is that fair? Okay. What I also have, these are DVD datas. These are actually DVD DVDs. This will play on your VCR or whatnot. This has the last 6 podcasts in video format. And all of these also have a whole bunch of training videos, but this one here also has my ebook, Tales from the Brand Cave on. Okay? So, depending on the Q&A, and how much time do we have, Mr. Pete? I got 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes to answer questions and give some of these out. So first of all, we're going to start with the 101s. Who's got a 101 question for me? No one wants a DVD? What kind of question for you?
Can I have the DVD?
That's a very good question. I will make a deal with you. You got the DVD, sir.
Perfect, thank you.
If you like it, subscribe to the podcast.
Will do.
If you really like it, give me a review on iTunes. If you really hate it, give me a review on iTunes.
All right.
Okay? Because why? Because you engage good or bad. Who else wants one?